Hello.
Hello.
Good morning. Welcome to the first hybrid aquaculture conference for the West African region. My name is Dr. Winnie Soa, the Department of Marine and Fisheries Sciences. First off, we apologize for beginning slightly late, well, 15 minutes late. We apologize for that. We'll start with a prayer by Dr. Samuel Ado.
Shall we bow our heads as we pray? Our Father in heaven, this morning we thank you for the gift of life. Thank you that indeed the organizers for this program proposed this day for the opening session. You have made it good. We are grateful. We commit this 3 days conference into your hands. Lead us right from the start, because you are the Alpha and Omega. Take us to a successful end where our goal for this conference would be achieved, and we will all be grateful to appreciate you. We thank you. Through Christ Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ado. And we'll plead that those in the back move forward. That would be very appreciated. Thank you. I'd like to welcome our dignitaries and invite the speakers to join me up here. We'll start with Dr. Enin Somoa, who is the chairman of the Chamber of Aquaculture Ghana. Dr. Enin Somoa. Yes, please. Thank you. Oh, you're actually in the middle. You're the chairman. Professor Francis K.E. Nunu, Head of Department, Marine and Fisheries Sciences, University of Ghana. Mr. Ndiaga Guyi, FAO Regional Senior Fisheries Officer. Next. Oyvind Udland Johansen, Counselor and Deputy Head of Mission, Royal Norwegian Embassy, Ghana. Regina Barbosa, Country Director, German Development Corporation. I'm told Mr. Mpieni is not currently here, so, oh, he is. Mr. Kwame Mpieni. It cannot miss an industry player. And Mr. Yofi Grant, Chief Executive Officer at Ghana Investment Promotion Center. Mr. Blessing Infumo. Apologies for skipping you. You're all warmly welcome to the University of Ghana and to this maiden conference. Can we have an applause, please? Would invite Professor Francis Nunu to open the conference for us.
Good morning, and special greetings to colleagues on the high table. Want to welcome all of us to today's conference, the opening ceremony of this conference. This is a hybrid conference because of we're going to have some physical sessions, some online sessions. I accept to chair this opening session and welcome you to this university and to this conference. Globally, aquaculture development has seen a tremendous improvement and has supplied almost half of all the fish produced, both capture and culture, in 2020. Aquaculture is a more sustainable protein production system compared to land-based meat production systems due to its smaller carbon footprint. However, it faces a number of challenges, especially for us in Africa. There are a number of challenges, including costs and availability of seed and feed, and also market, availability of ready market when the produced fish is ready. It is a critical food source, and it provides livelihoods and income to the people of the world. This 3-day hybrid conference on aquaculture for the West African region is the first to be organized on the continent, and is a step in the right direction as it brings together the major stakeholders and development partners within the industry to deliberate on better ways to promote inclusion and transparency in the management of aquaculture in West Africa. A few years ago, conferences of this nature were organized face-to-face. However, due to the global COVID-19 pandemic that still lingers on, about 90% of the activities in this conference will happen on various virtual platforms, mainly on Zoom, and streamed live on YouTube and Facebook. In total, there will be 14 sessions for this conference, 12 virtual and 2 in person. That is this opening ceremony and the closing session. These sessions span various topics from fish health and diseases, women and youth in aquaculture, water quality management and environmental protection, fish feed development, aquaculture governance, human rights issues, and then we'll have a photo competition, to mention a few. I entreat all of us to register and to participate in this conference actively. Although it is a conference by the West African region, it has received global audience from all the continents of the world. Before I take my seat, I want to especially welcome and thank our speakers for this session, who will be speaking on important issues that border on the sustainable development of aquaculture in the West African region. I also want to thank the organizers and all collaborators and sponsors, and especially you, the participants, without which we will not have a solid conference. Whilst you are enjoying the conference, let's observe all the COVID-19 protocols. And I wish to draw attention to page 15 of the brochure, where there's information about the Marine and Fisheries Sciences Department of the University of Ghana. We run various training programs, PhD, MPhil, MSc, BSc, and short courses. We are ready to organize training programs on aquaculture and fish farming for you. Whilst here, enjoy the serene University of Ghana campus. It is a beautiful campus. Try and drive around or walk around the campus and enjoy the campus. And on that serene note, I wish to officially declare this conference opened and wish us all fruitful deliberations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Nunu. Would invite Dr. Samoa to give us a welcome address.
Good morning, distinguished speakers, distinguished head of mission. It is a pleasure this morning to welcome you to the first hybrid conference on aquaculture. On behalf of the Chamber of Aquaculture in Ghana, we first want to welcome those of us that are not in Ghana but participating virtually to this program, and for those of us that have been able to make it this morning here. As my senior colleague, Professor Nunu, has said, aquaculture tends to be the more sustainable way to meet our protein needs. This morning, we create a platform that allows the two arms of the industry to think through and enhance inclusion and management of the sector or of the industry. We create a platform that brings government and the industry actors together, as well as our development partners and civil society organizations, to take us through how we can enhance the production, how we can enhance productivity, and how we can also improve the marketing challenges. I think we all would agree that the markets for fish and its products are available. It is only the channels that this goes through to reach the consumers that sometimes have challenges. I hope this conference will enable us to elaborate on some of these challenges and address them properly in a manner that it will inform policy and shape the industry. Without much ado, I want to thank you all for making it here, and you're welcome this morning to this August conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Samoa. With a round of applause, please welcome Mr. Ndiaga Goyi, the FAO Regional Senior Fisheries Officer, who will give us a speech on the theme, Sustaining Aquaculture Development in West Africa, the Role of Stakeholders.
Thank you very much. Normally, when I enter a room, the first thing I do is to look at the ceiling to ensure that it can fit my size, and that was the case. Mr. Chairman of the Chamber of Aquaculture of Ghana, Mr. Chairman of the conference, distinguished speakers, and distinguished guests in your respective capacities. It is an honor to participate in this maiden West African regional chapter of the World Aquaculture Society. And I am confident that the three-day dialogue among the participants will highly benefit the West African states. And on behalf of the Director General of FAO, I wish to extend our great thanks to the organizer and to congratulate them for conducting this landmark event. FAO is also very grateful to the various technical, academic, industrial, and financial partners present here. We are indeed in the same pond. Our strong belief is that through cooperation and strategic partnership, our efforts can steer the narrative of sustainable West African aquaculture. At global level, the magnitude of aquaculture is contributing to global food fish production, thereby reducing hunger, malnutrition, and poverty. Now more than ever, fish and fisheries products are essential in the fight against malnutrition poverty. Global fish consumption increased at an average annual of 3.1% from 61 to 2018. For the last 3 decades, fisheries production has been stable with a plateau of about 90 million tons in 2018. On the other hand, aquaculture has been one of the fastest production systems around the world. Despite aquaculture having been one of the fastest production systems and is expected to be a major source of aquatic food on the growing world population, the growth of and the development of aquaculture has been uneven, with Asia being the major contributor to global production, more than 60%. We believe that sustainable intensification and diversification, adequate sector governance frameworks, and innovative value chains are essential for further aquaculture growth. I was just talking at the global level. In sub-Saharan Africa, let's say in the ECOWAS region, as of 2019, the countries of ECOWAS contributed around 0.30% of the global aquaculture production. Sub-Saharan Africa contributed around 0.6%, while Africa's share was hardly 2%. This share surely remain insignificant, but they are indicative of good opportunities for the sector growth. While this contribution seems insignificant, it is so important for food security, nutrition, and livelihood of millions, and increasingly significant for the economic growth of the countries. There are a lot of opportunities for aquaculture in the ECOWAS region. Here in this region, we have some of the world's largest reservoirs, like in Senegal, Niger, the Lake Chad, the Volta, Monobo, Bandama, Sassandra, and so on. So, with combined storage capacity of more than 246 square kilometers of water, including the one of the world's largest man-made lake by area, the Lake Volta. Markets and opportunities are also a major argument for aquaculture investment in Africa. The ECOWAS healthy demography trends also is one of the opportunities. And most ECOWAS countries has already embarked on comprehensive pro-business reform designed to stimulate and safeguard foreign currency. And of course, I was talking about ECOWAS, but we all know that Ghana is not nothing when we are talking about aquaculture in ECOWAS region. On the contrary, I would not go through the main opportunities and the main, how would I say it? Yes, opportunity. Let's say the main opportunities that we have here in Ghana. It would be a bit tedious to list them. But I also wish to mention here some of FAO historic contribution on aquaculture growth in Africa. Over the years, the strategic area of intervention of FAO have focused on 4 priority areas: how to increase the production and productivity, to promote sustainable use and management of the natural resources, to ensure food security and resilience of the most vulnerable, and to support market access. Specifically, FAO has provided a very large number of countries with policy support, institutional building, technical backing, and knowledge sharing. In many countries and with its partners, FAO was also and it still is in the forefront with ambitious and efficient aquaculture startup projects. And with the support of member countries, and the African Union Bureau for Animal Resource, and more specifically with what we call the Aquaculture Network for Africa, ANAF, FAO is also working for programming and implementation of for better policy support and for institutional building. Our FAO West Africa office also covering the 15 countries of ECOWAS has also and still working with member countries for the promotion of sustainable aquaculture development. But of course, despite all these trends, there are many constraints to aquaculture development in ECOWAS. Rightly, Mr. the President of the conference mentioned the problems of limited ability to produce or otherwise access to good quality inputs like the seeds and the feeds. There is also the problem of inaccessibility of loans by farmers and many other constraints. While in the past 10 years, a lot has been advanced in the area of aquaculture governance, we still need to continue united working towards better, stronger administrative and institutional sectors. Sector-specific policies, strategy and plan, law and regulation conducive to the sustainable development of the sector. And this is where really we must acknowledge the role of the stakeholders. As in the case of other sectors of the economic, emergency of stakeholder involvement in policy making, planning, and management in aquaculture is progressively leading to a more specific and effective policies and plan in many places, as well as improving their implementation. We ought to encourage more of this aspect of aquaculture governance. It is critical, it is extremely important. Our experience shows that critical aspects of stakeholder involvement in aquaculture policy making, planning and management include the institutional capacity of the stakeholders' organization, legitimacy of the organization and process, cost of stakeholders' involvement, degree of stakeholder competition, and different level at which these stakeholders are involved. The same experience further indicates that optimal, effective stakeholder involvement requires action in 3 levels. When it is about enabling environment or decision-making process and the role and responsibility of the stakeholder. At all of these 3 main areas, there is a critical role of the stakeholders. And you will agree with me that it will be tedious to go through all the type of stakeholders to have a role to play here and now. It is just sufficient to say that all the stakeholders are key players in pushing aquaculture ahead, from laborers constructing the ponds, to the hands that work to feed meals, to the woman drying and smoking fish, to scientific minds that troll through literature, and to you sitting in these events. We are all stakeholders of the aquaculture. And finally, if it is true that during a certain period, the mentality of donors' dependency to promote aquaculture in Africa was ever present, be it at the farmer or at the government level, thankfully, these lines of thinking are no longer strong. Farmers now have started understanding the importance of entering into partnership if aquaculture is to develop sustainably. And I shall stress that Africa aquaculture need investment, financial institutions with courage to give due attention to business proposals submitted to them by the African entrepreneurs, including women and youth. Commercial banks and entrepreneurs in general cannot continue to be seeing so risk when it comes to funding aquaculture. We need to take the risk together, and I would like to invite the financial institution, donors, and development partners present in this meeting to listen to this. This is especially relevant also to the as the African Union now looks to aquaculture as a sustainable option for increasing the continent's fish product. Having realized the continent's natural resource potential for aquaculture and rapidly increasing demand for fish, increased efforts are needed to create an enabling environment, especially for commercial aquaculture. And again, this cannot be achieved without a full involvement of all the stakeholders. During this landmark 3 days event, through your unique online session platform, and judging from the number of participating stakeholders and the diversity of expertise in the virtual room, we can rest assured that this meeting will provide guidance of enhancing West African sustainable development for its people and beyond. And I am confident that the session will be successful, and we will all leave satisfied with the level of interaction and positive results that will come. While wishing the Chamber of Aquaculture of Ghana every success, I take this chance to reiterate FAO readiness to support the government, academics, and industry partners in their effort to strengthen regional sustainable aquaculture endeavor. FAO believes that it is only through partnership of this kind that aquaculture will contribute significantly to a better production, a better nutrition, a better environment, and a better life for all in Africa and elsewhere. Thank you very much.
That was a promotional video from one of our distinguished sponsors, GIPC. Thank you very much. Now we'll have a message from the Counselor and Deputy Head of Mission, Royal Norwegian Embassy, Ivan Udland Johansen, on the theme Fish Health and Transparency in Aquaculture. With a round of applause, shall we invite?
Thank you very much, distinguished presentators and panelists, and on the high table, all people present and online. First of all, I would like to thank the Chamber of Aquaculture for organizing this conference and for the invitation to make a few remarks on behalf of the Norwegian Embassy in Ghana. I do so with a great pleasure, since aquaculture and fisheries are an integral part of Norwegian culture and business life. So today, I will use this opportunity to give you a very brief introduction to the aquaculture sector in Norway, say a few words about how my government's approach to sustainable oceans economy is, and finally, I would like to share with you the main points from the Norwegian experience regarding fish health, transparency, and lessons learned. Let me just say that in the program, if you read it, I was presented as a somewhat of an expert in aquaculture, and I think there was a little bit mistake. I'm a mere diplomat, so. But we are very fortunate in having two distinguished experts from the Norwegian Veterinary Institute present, and they will present later today online. And those two are much more able to engage in a discussion about fish health and aquaculture later today. So I'll give you the broad perspective, and then my distinguished colleagues will be able to go more into depth. All of you are well aware of how increasingly important aquaculture has become for providing food on the table, to be part of the increasing need for food security in a climate-changing world, and to do so in a sustainable and ecological sound way. We just heard the other panelists saying exactly the same. It's we really have big hopes in aquaculture. And aquaculture is one of the fastest growing food production sectors in the world, and it is responsible for more than half of global seafood production. So, if we do this right, if we base our decisions, our planning and growth on scientific knowledge, if we take the necessary environmental safety measures, it has the potential to be an even more important food resource in the future, not the least due to overexploited wild fish stocks, reduced land availability for agriculture, and a growing human population. So what about Norway? Over a period of 50 years, Norway has become the world's leading salmon producer with an annual production of 1.3 million ton. It is a fairly young industry, 50 years old, and it's a mix of small and large companies, and the total number is being somewhere around 100. Now, even if it's a highly modern and technology-driven industry, it still creates, directly and indirectly, about 40,000 jobs. This includes so-called spin-off effects in coastal areas. Salmon is by far the largest species, both in terms of volume and value. Salmon exports in 2019 amounted to 1.1 million ton, representing 72.5 Norwegian kroner billion in export value, or about 8.5 billion US dollars. Farmed salmon is now our second most important export article after oil and gas, and the government has declared that a goal of increasing the production to 5 million tons by 2050. That would be almost 5 times of the present production. And this clearly shows the potential, but also the challenges following from such an ambitious plan. For example, the salmon spans almost the entire coastline, ranging from Arctic conditions in the north to temperate conditions in the south. The different geographical regions are exposed to a diverse climate, and climate change will affect the region differently. And in addition, salmon production includes several different stages, all of which have different environmental interactions. So, you would understand that sustainable ocean economies is a top priority for the Norwegian government. Key elements in our ocean policy are promoting, developing, and defending the law of sea, promoting conservation and sustainable use of marine ecosystems, contributing to knowledge-based management, supporting the implementation of international oceans-related instruments, and advocating an integrated approach to marine management that will underpin a sustainable ocean economy. Norway will continue to be a reliable partner in international ocean cooperation and an attractive trading partner. Ensuring clean and healthy oceans and sound marine management is an integral part of our development aid policy. The UN Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, have become common goals and guidelines for most developed or developing nations. Ghana and Norway are playing a leading role in promoting the SDGs and will continue to do so. Norway and Ghana are pursuing an active international ocean policy founded on principles of good governance, and we share the need to give weight to cooperation on ocean-related issues through regional and international organizations and through bilateral cooperation. I believe this cooperation can only be strengthened in the years to come, both bilaterally and internationally. Now, let me just very briefly also say a few things about what we are doing here at the embassy. We have our Fish for Development program. The program's overall goal is to contribute to a better management and to regulate both the marine fisheries and the aquaculture industry in a sustainable manner. The program seeks to introduce science-based sustainable management practices to both sectors. Sustainable development will bring long-term socio-economic benefits to the nation. It is a key component in the larger picture of cooperation between Ghana and Norway on sustainable ocean economy, with President Akufo-Addo and Prime Minister Solberg together on the ocean panel, and their co-chairmanship of the high-level advocacy group on the Sustainable Development Goals. A successful implementation of the Fish for Development program should contribute significantly to driving forward the agenda spearheaded by our two principles, and further strengthen the bilateral relations between Ghana and Norway. Let me then turn the attention specifically to fish health and transparency and lessons learned. In Norway, during the 80s and 90s, it became increasingly clear that the aquaculture sector and the production of salmon and trout was facing serious challenges regarding fish health, site management, and an overall plan for how the future development should be. A growing and expanding sector with increased economic potential and international market access, but perhaps without the sufficient management systems and regulations to match this development. And so it became clear for the industry and for the regulators that action was needed in order to maintain the sector sustainable for the future. Before I go further into those actions, let me quickly outline what a typical Norwegian fish farm looks like these days. It consists of 6 to 8 cages at open sea. There's no inland fish farming taking place. The cages are on an average 50 meters in diameter and 30 to 40 meters deep. It is common to have about 3,000 to 4,000 fish on each site. It is important to note that there are trained people at all levels, like aquaculture practitioners, veterinarians, fish health biologists, researchers, technologists, and economists. Thus, aquaculture has developed into a highly specialized industry involving many fields of expertise and research. Now, the present aquaculture legislation, the Aquaculture Act, is in its 4th generation, and in many ways it responds to the challenges that had emerged in a booming but still quite young industry. The purpose of the Act was and is to promote the profitability and competitiveness of the aquaculture industry within the framework of a sustainable development and contribute to the creation of value on the coast. Also, to introduce a simplification for the industry and public administration, greater efficiency and user-friendliness, and make sure that there is a modern and comprehensive environmental regime. And taking into account the relationship to other user interests in the coastal zone, efficient land utilization. So, some of the main points in the Act that promotes, amongst others, fish health and transparency. Licenses. Licenses are transferable and they are not limited in time. The licenses can be mortgaged and registered. And also very important, the authorities will have an overview of the national production capacity through the licenses. Site approval. Site approval makes that one can limit the production at each site by its carrying capacity, minimizing the conflict that can arise with use of space and area, and consider the risk of disease transmission. Establish a regulatory system for production capacity. If it is deemed an unacceptable environmental footprint, the productive capacity should be reduced. If it has a moderate environmental footprint, freezing of the production capacity. And if it has an acceptable environmental footprint, growth should be offered. Then we have the aquaculture register. It is available on net. It has general information about licenses and sites, and it is possible to search for information for specific licenses. One can find information about the holder and which permits it has, as well as which locations are associated with the individual permit. This register is essential for making trustworthy information publicly available in a user-friendly way. Additionally, you have Geographical Information System, GIS, which is an important tool in aquaculture management. It connects to the aquaculture register in order to be able to see locations of aquaculture, other forms of use of the area, and data on biodiversity. This will also secure sustainable management of both natural resources and the aquaculture in the water bodies. Then, aquaculture biosecurity is fish health management. This means collaboration, surveillance, and preparedness. It means to have a set of sanitary standards, a code of practice that requires knowledge, acknowledgement, implementation, and compliance with standards. And recording and reporting of activities, which is obligatory, also promotes transparency. Relationship between institutions involved in regulating aquaculture industry. This is a major factor for creating a constructive working environment for the industry and for the regulator and the general public. This requires a clear, or as clear as possible, division of roles between policymaker, which is the ministry, and decision maker and inspection service, which are the directorate supervision, and scientific support. An example from Europe of how important this division is became evident after the mad cow disease scandal in several EU countries. I think that must be 25 years ago or even more. Because then it turned out that scientific advice was withheld for financial reasons. All three pillars that I mentioned were under the same leadership in the several EU countries and in the Commission. So the relationship between authorities is extremely important. One other of the major success factors is cooperation. The most important success factors behind the over 40 years of stable growth is that we have an open, trust-based dialogue among competent authorities, industry and research, with the understanding that we use nature as a place of production. Lastly, I would just mention some of the lessons learned. Sustainability, the importance of health management, spatial management and site structure in order to secure biosafe, sustainable aquaculture production. Flexibility, that the right of transfer and mortgage can contribute to a greater predictability and improved access to capital for the industry. In addition, the industry's need for flexibility to conduct ordinary commercial transactions will be met within a comprehensive scheme. Definition of roles, clear role-defined, transparent collaboration between industry and authority. And then funding of research, which I didn't mention before, but which is also very important, is that the industry, the Norway Seafood Research, have established the Norway Seafood Research Fund. It means that they pay, I don't know exactly how much it is, a percentage or less of every year, which makes a clear funding of research. And that's basically what I had, so thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. We have another message from the country director of the German Development Corporation, Regina Baroxi Barbosa.
Mr. Chairman, the representative of the Minister of State for Fisheries and Agriculture Development, distinguished speakers, distinguished participants, members of the media. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, everybody. I'm privileged to be called to deliver the speech at this maiden conference. My focus is not on promoting inclusion in the aquaculture sector for sustainable growth and economic development. So I'm also not an expert in aquaculture. I'm representing one of the stakeholders you were mentioning. Please permit me to first thank the organizers of this important conference, the Chamber of Aquaculture Ghana, the Marine and Fisheries Department of the University of Ghana, and the World Aquaculture Society, the West Africa chapter. Your role in promoting the aquaculture sector in Ghana by bringing up crucial issues for redress is commendable, and I'm indeed delighted to be part of this effort. The German federal government has a long-standing relationship with the Ghanaian government, and both governments have successfully cooperated in various sectors of the economies for decades. The Deutsche Gesellschaft für internationale Zusammenarbeit, GIZ, on the other hand, is usually commissioned by the German government through the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, the BMZ, to partner with state and non-state actors to implement agreements reached by both governments. Indeed, GIZ is a provider of international cooperation services for sustainable development, dedicated to building a future worth living around the world. In the most recent agreement between governments in 2020, 3 priority areas were identified, namely climate and energy, training and sustainable growth for decent jobs, peaceful and inclusive societies. Beyond these, GIZ, jointly with its partners, promotes green economy, food processing and rural development, and digital transformation. Key to our implementation approach is a strong focus in involvement of the private sector. It is known fact that the private sector is the engine of growth and job creation. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, one of GIZ's long-running private sector focus programs in Ghana is the Employment and Skills for Development in Africa, popularly known as E4D. Ghana was chosen among 7 other African countries to implement this program from 2015. The E4D program was designed to work in partnership with mostly the private sector to develop and implement cooperation projects that will contribute to bringing 50,800 people into jobs, raising incomes, and improving working conditions for 190,000 people, and enhancing the business capacity of 41,000 local companies in these 7 countries. Mr. Chairman, due to the program's success, it has attracted the attention of development partners as well as large international organizations who provided funding through our co-funding mechanism for upscale. One of such co-financiers is the Norwegian government through the Norwegian Agency for Development Cooperation, NORAD. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to seize this opportunity to thank the Norwegian government, represented by Mr. Johansen here. This funding is added up toward from GIZ to support aquaculture development along the coastal belt of Ghana's western region. With a new focus on aquaculture, GIZ E4D is currently partnering with the Organization for Livelihood Enhancement Services and the Ministry of Fisheries and Agriculture Development to implement agriculture interventions along the coastal belt of the western region. These projects are expected to create sustainable jobs for about 1,000 people and to improve the employment situation of 7,000 Ghanaians. Out of this, 45% are expected to be youth and 35 to 50% women. In all our projects, we ensure that women and youth are the most impacted. This is our inclusion agenda. In the light of the rapid globalization, food security is becoming one of the greatest challenges that humanity faces. This challenge is expected to intensify as the world's population is projected to reach 9.7 billion by 2050. We are told developing nations disproportionately bear the brunt of food insecurity. Thus, we need to find alternative ways to feed the human population. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, aquaculture has steadily gained traction in Ghana. Over the past decade, a steady effort has been made by the Ghanaian government, donor agency, and the private sector to improve this sector, to increase its production, to improve the growing decline of the wild stock. The sector has immense potentials in employment, poverty eradication, ecosystem protection, among others. In 2020, the FAO published a document on the assessment of the integration of fisheries and agriculture in policy development in Africa, which confirms the following facts. The relevance of fisheries and agriculture in African countries was ranked highest in Ghana, having a score of 9 out of 12, as compared to the African average. The report shows that Ghana is a net importer of fish and fishery products up to over 341,547 metric tons, representing about 32% of the total African average import. In the attempt to address 5 major themes such as poverty eradication, foreign exchange generation, food security, sustainable ecosystem, and gender mainstreaming, Ghana had incorporated up to half of its review documents policy on fisheries and aquaculture to meet the envisaged growth and development objectives. The government of Ghana recognizes the need to curb the huge difference in fish deficit in the country and to promote aquaculture as the capture fishery dwindles. This is a step in the right direction. GIZ as well as BMZ understand the role of this sector in building Ghana's economy, since aquaculture has proven over the years to contribute to reduce poverty, improving on food security, promotes a sustainable economy, gender mainstreaming, and the generation of foreign exchange. In addition to the factors mentioned, Ghana's aquaculture sector has a positive outlook due to its suitable water bodies, lakes, rivers, streams, sea, the land and climatic conditions, which favors the culturing of various species such as tilapia, catfish, prawns, and shrimps. This puts Ghana in a suitable position to reverse the current situation of being net importer to net exporter of fishery products. The generation of employment opportunities by the sector cannot be overlooked for Ghanaian youth and women. Current estimates indicate that women account for 19 or 3.9 million of the workforce in the aquaculture value chain globally, reported by FAO in 2020. And sustainable resource management cannot be achieved without the inclusion of women in management and decision-making processes. This is particularly true for fisheries management, owing to the strong gender contrast in small-scale subsistence fisheries. It is critical that the role women play in the aquaculture and their contribution to household diets are well understood. To be able to develop and implement successful resource management strategies that will ensure food security for generations. Despite the number of women engaged in the aquaculture value chain, they still face substantive challenges to engage and benefit equitably from the sector. Contributing factors include limited or no access to resources, including finance. Social gender norm impediments, overburden with other chores, lack of knowledge from technical business or entrepreneurship viewpoint. Women empowerment and equality are key for sustainable development and to achieve the SDGs, particularly goal number 2, zero hunger, and number 10, reduced inequalities. On the other hand, the youth who have been hit hard by unemployment have resorted to all forms of informal and sometimes illegal activities just to survive. With the need to create over 1 million new jobs across the continent yearly, pragmatic measures must be taken by all, especially government, to ensure their youth find decent jobs. This has necessitated the call to strong embrace vocational and technical skills training at all levels of Ghana's education system to equip the young ones with the necessary skills for better livelihoods. Aquaculture is indeed one of the sectors which cannot and must not be left out in these skill acquisition trainings. This sector has a vast opportunity to create jobs for the youth, and we must incorporate it into our aquaculture training systems. Mr. Chairman, while the livelihood of many is hinged on this sector, the ecosystem that sustains the thriving of this sector is under serious threat. Today, news of illegal mining, indiscriminate logging, indiscriminate soil willing, and other adverse environmental activities happening across the country poses major threats to the survival of the aquaculture sector. The very water bodies which host the aquatic organisms are threatened with chemicals and other forms of pollution, making them less inhabitable with time. This, coupled with the well-known climate change effect across the world, calls for measures aimed at securing the environment. The mitigation steps taken by the government so far is commendable. However, more needs to be done. I'm therefore appealing to government, private sector, and non-state actors to join hands to protect the environment and to promote aquaculture development. Distinguished participants, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, I hope the outcome of this conference will be taken up by the appropriate authorities so that we can have an improved aquaculture sector in the country. Thank you very much for your attention and enjoy the conference.
Thank you very much. Now we have a promotional video from the German Development Corporation, another distinguished sponsor. Thank you very much for your contribution and cooperation. We'll have a message to our industry from Mr. Kwame Pianin, economist and aquaculture industry player, on the theme Opportunities and Constraints in the West African Aquaculture Sector. Mr. Kwame Pianin.
Chairman, distinguished members. Mr. Chairman, distinguished members on the high table, my topic actually is the challenges in the aquaculture business in Ghana. I think my presentation is okay. With the exception of Nigeria, which has about 190 to 200 million consumers in ECOWAS. Most ECOWAS countries are small, from about 600,000 Cape Verde. About 10 of the 15 member countries have populations of less than 20 million. The purchasing power of the countries are also small. So when we are trying to look at making the sector competitive, we have to look beyond the national economies like, say, Ghana, and focus on ECOWAS, with close to about 400 million population and purchasing power of some 700 billion US dollars. the challenges of the national industry at the macro level. First is the general lack of international competitiveness of the national economy. Feed costs was about 60-65% of production cost, has inputs maize, soya, which are not available in competitive values. Most agricultural output or products in Ghana have a yield deficit of about 50%. So if you take maize, for example, the tonnage per hectare is 10.7 vis-a-vis 38 potential yield. Paddy rice 1.35 as compared to 3. Sorghum is about 1.65 as compared to 3.5, and cassava 1.2 as compared to 2.5. So for input cost to come down, we need to do by far better than we are doing. Currency instability. When we started fish farming in Ghana about a decade ago, $3.5 per kilo was the price, which meant that the Ghanaian had to spend 3.5 cedis for a kilo of tilapia. Now, the cedi is about 5.8. So the Ghanaian buying tilapia in about 15 to 20 Ghana cedis feels that it is expensive. Power and infrastructure. When you are doing fish farming, you practically have to internalize the cost of the fish farming. That is, contribute to making the road, make sure you have power to your place. This is not what industries do, but we have to do that. Lack of coordination in the sector policies. For example, feed for poultry comes in duty-free, but feed for aquaculture has to pay customs duty. Why? Because the legislators said feed is for animals, and fish, according to our legislators, are not animals. Maybe the split of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture from fisheries has not been beneficial to us. I'm on page 6 now. The burden of inbuilt administrative coercive levies. When you have to clear goods, you need to have separate tax clearance certificate to get your application to GIPC. Another one for customs. Maybe the same should be able to be done. And maybe if Ghana Revenue Authority, customs, GIPC were all digitalized and the systems were combined, it will make it easy. Because we don't have the staff to be going around all these places to be collecting them. And maybe a one-desk shop at the Ministry of Fisheries will help us be able to do that. Otherwise, when your goods are at the harbor, you have to pay the coercive tax or incur demurrage. The other one is the burden of seemingly arbitrary regulatory and administrative fees. EPA, we have to pay Water Resource Commission and Fisheries Commission fees. And you don't know how they are levied. Most levies have to go through Parliament, but these are administrative, and there's no where you can appeal if you think you are being overcharged. Maybe, as I said, we can hope for a shop that limits having to go around, and maybe if it was located at the ministries, the ministry could be the arbiter. Inadequate support for aquaculture development. We need to have an improved system, especially for healthcare. When disease starts spreading on the lake, there should be more centralized, strong monitoring so that they can identify and prevent the diseases before they get to us. And maybe at the ministry level, we need to prioritize aquaculture as against some of the other important things like mix, premix, and licensing for imports of fish from outside. The availability and quality management and operational staff. A lot of training is done at the academic level, at the university level, but what most of us need are operators, staff who feed the fish, staff who will be able to monitor the health of the fish, and management staff. Managing fish is one of the most complicated businesses you can do. I've been in a lot of sectors before I entered fish farming. It's complicated. They are alive. You get fingerlings, you have to transport them, you have to feed them, and you go, some of the young people say, how often do you feed them? They say, oh, every 4 hours, every 6 hours. Oh, okay. When did you last feed them? At 8. And it's getting to 1. And you see, men are terrible at looking after live things. If men were responsible for children, the child will die whilst we are watching TV or watching a soccer game. So we need to have trained young people, especially women, to get into the aquaculture business. The training, especially at the technical and vocational level, is important. And training, especially for the young women, at the fintech level, at the marketing level, you have a lot of young women who have put tilapia online. They sell it, they can deliver it, and we need more people involved like that. The need to scale up and integrate. If we are to be part of the African free trade, continental free trade area, with even a bigger market of 1 billion consumers instead of the 700 in ECOWAS, 400 in ECOWAS. We need to scale up. Our sectors are too small. We need to make sure that we provide funding for the feed companies to be able to integrate either into soya and maize production or have people who have specialized farms to produce for them to reduce the cost. or specialized farms to produce fingerlings so that they are just specializing in fingerling production, and then some for grow out. But all these will need money so that we can scale up our productions to internationally competitive levels. We need to have people, especially women, who are funded to be able to buy the fish at the farm gate and be able to supply the retail level so that those of us who are producing can concentrate on production. My last slide is towards a vibrant aquaculture industry. I think we need to create adequate and appropriate source of funding for the sector. Most bankers look at the other industry, so it's annual. They are in other places, so they know the cycle. Fish farming has a 5-month production cycle, and they don't know how to structure appropriate funding for it. What I'm proposing is a special levy, maybe a 2.5% levy on all imported fish and canned fish products. We are importing roughly about 400,000 tons. So if it even priced at a kilo, at $1 a kilo, that's almost 400 million. And 2.5% of that will yield about 10 million. This can be located at Exim Bank to lend to women and young people under 35 or than 30 years of age, to go into the sector. And then at the government level, more coordination, more five-sided policies to support the national development, and also at the ECOWAS level to be able to support the industry. And my last slide is to thank the Chamber and the organizers for this meeting. And for the Chamber, I hope that I'll be able to build a strong secretariat that will be able to coordinate policies and to be able to dialogue with government. And I think that if we build together, and among us, as is done in most places, the watchword should be co-petition. We cooperate to build, to produce health care for the fish. All that we do by cooperation. And then we compete like hell for market share. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Penny. Our next presentation is by Mr. Yofi Grant, Chief Executive Officer at the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, and it's on the theme, Ghana's Investment Climate in Aquaculture.
Very good morning to you all. Mr. Chairman, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may I stand on all the existing protocols. I have a little presentation which I hope will be put out there soon. But I will begin by first voicing my alarm two points that were made by earlier presenters. One being that Ghana is importing close to 400,000 tons of fish, and that represents close to 30% of the region's fish imports. That's quite frightening. And then secondly, that fish have been declassified as animals. And I'm not sure which category of food they will be. Definitely not fruit, definitely not plants, but it's difficult to understand how that has happened, because then it affects other policies as well. But having said that, I do believe that we are in a situation where aquaculture could be very important to us. And for time reasons, I'll quickly just rifle through the presentation and do what I feel is relevant in facilitating investment into the sector. So I start by talking about the role of aquaculture in Ghana's economy, which means it's an important part of our economy, 3 to 5% of GDP, and employs quite a significant opportunity to our people. Production in Ghana was estimated at some 77,000 tons in 2018. That's according to the World Bank. And there are about 140 species of fish found in the Volta Lake alone. And that supports the livelihoods of people who live along the riverside, over some 300,000 people. And for me, who is an ardent and voracious fish eater, I think that it's my personal interest to see how best we can grow aquaculture in Ghana. It's estimated that some up to 2 million people are engaged in the value chain of aquaculture, directly or indirectly in that industry, and they include our wives, our children, our close relatives, canoe carvers, input suppliers, net weavers, office workers, and a whole industrial fleet. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. I think but in today's context, maybe we need to go beyond Ghana a bit and look at the region as well. And if you look at the region, it's estimated there are 6.2 million people, that is the Africa region, employed in aquaculture. But if you look at the percentage as a share of GDP, it is woefully unrepresentative of that number anyway. Next slide, please. Now, I suggest that to meet the demand for ready-to-prepare products by consumers, artisanal fish processing subsectors in Africa are emerging from farm gates and markets utilizing simple fish processing methods. But from what we've heard from an actual practitioner in the field, we are also seeing some, I wouldn't say pushback, but policy inconsistency and incoherence, which is making that even much more difficult. And we did hear earlier on from the FAO representative some of the setbacks that we see in elevating this to be a real vibrant economy that creates wealth for our people. Next slide, please. I just decided to put in a few comparisons of some of the countries so we look at ourselves in perspective. In Egypt, the government has had many intercessions in the sector and then pushing it to grow. And we are seeing aquaculture in Egypt grow very radically. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the numbers because we couldn't validate them. But in Egypt, you are likely to see a lot of technology in fish farming and a well-developed infrastructure for ensuring that it is, it has become a vibrant employer as part of the economy. Then the next will be Nigeria, which is our neighbor. Nigeria, of course, being one of the most populous countries in Africa, but also with enough water bodies, could possibly be a major player in the aquaculture space. And indeed, Nigeria has the highest fish demand in Africa. I think they are doing well, and it's as the numbers say, the fish farms contribute about 80% of aquaculture production in Nigeria, and are mostly responsible for the development of the aquaculture industry value chain, which is just not farming but the whole sector. And I'm sure many of you who go to Nigeria would know the importance of catfish as a constituent of almost every meal that you have. And then I'll also go to Uganda, where aquaculture is being used dynamically to bring about nutrition and solve unemployment and food security. And there are very strategic interventions from the government and from the development partners to do that, as we are seeing today that GIZ and Norway have significant partnerships with Ghana to develop aquaculture. But I'll jump straight to Ghana, and let's go to the next two slides. And give where we are as a country. Ghana has been hailed as one of the most stable political countries in Africa. And for the past 16 years, our economy has been growing steadily and sometimes dramatically. If you look at the numbers, between 2017 and 2019, Ghana's economy grew at an average of 7% and becoming one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Even in the COVID times, when we had our economic growth slow down, Ghana was one of the few countries that had positive economic growth of 0.9%. If you compare it to the region, which had an economic growth of minus 3.3%, it means we are doing something good, despite the decline. But that does not mean that we are doing everything good. We've seen inflation also rise up with COVID and come down recently. The last numbers we had was it has come down to 8.2%, which is commendable. But going forward, I think there's a new opportunity for us as a continent and as a country to actually develop some of these areas which erstwhile were relegated as sub-economies. Because if you look at West Africa, for example, apart from Nigeria and maybe Burkina, the rest of the countries have a protein source very way below what is the average or should be the average if you compare to OECD or you compare to East Africa or Southern Africa. And because we have quite a number of countries along the sea, it makes practical sense to facilitate a vibrant aquaculture than rear cattle. I think that is where we are. If you take 2020, Ghana, for example, and let me jump out of the opportunity for aquaculture. Despite COVID, Ghana was the third most attractive place for FDI in Africa. Egypt attracted $5.5 billion. Nigeria was estimated to have attracted $2.66 billion in foreign direct investment. And Ghana did $2.65 billion of foreign direct investment. And so we still have an economy that is attractive to investors. And for us, there are two aspects of the SDGs which we wholeheartedly embrace. And by the way, Ghana was the first country globally to benchmark the achievement of SDGs in its budgetary process. Now, the two most important SDGs that we consider are SDG 1, which is in partnerships, and SDG 1, which is poverty eradication, and SDG 17, which is in partnerships and linkages. And so for us, we do take the business of investment promotion very serious, and I believe that aquaculture is one of those areas where we can see significant growth in boosting our foreign direct investment and facilitating partnerships and solving the food crisis of the world. So can we go to the next two slides? I chanced on a brief history of the aquaculture industry in Ghana, and it was very interesting that under the first colonial administration in 1953, a number of ponds were actually deliberately constructed to serve as hatcheries to build a fish or aquaculture industry, and also boosting the national taste for fish then, because in those days the protein source was mainly fish, not eggs, not beef. But after independence, after 1957, the government also developed a strategy or a policy to construct fish ponds within all irrigation systems in the country, especially in the northern part of the country. But as we speak, I am not sure that we do have any such existing ponds in the north of Ghana, and I stand to be corrected. I do not know. There might be some. Right, and so at least we've maintained them. We didn't kill them off fully, but I believe that there might be reason to improve on that as well. 3 forms of aquaculture were in existence in Ghana. The ones they call the akajes, or brush parks in lagoons and reservoirs, the hatches, or fish holes, as they say, where you find a lot of catfish, and then the hredos, or mini dams in coastal lagoons, and then the afani, or freshwater clams in the lower volta, where young clams were gathered and planted in owned areas of the river. And that tells us that even culturally, we already had an aquaculture culture, which we did not migrate into a whole economy. And I think that now we do have that opportunity. Can we move on to slide? Let me just move on to save some time, and move to slide 15. Right, I did say earlier that aquaculture is about 5% of GDP, and we have about 10,000 metric tons of fish harvested from our small rivers and lakes each year and processed for sale in urban markets. Our current fish production is about 50,000 metric tons a year, but it's estimated that 10% of the population is dependent on the aquaculture sector for their livelihoods. Can we move on to the next slide, please? So apart from migrating into a very vibrant economy because of our need for protein and not having a major, should I say, protein development program in place, the aquaculture and fisheries could actually play that role. And I'm told that traditionally we are fish eaters. And I have always asked, but if we're fish eaters, so what were those beyond Accra eating for protein? And therefore there is a need that if we don't build up a major agricultural initiative for boosting our protein development as part of our nutrition, then fish naturally could do that for us, because I think comparatively developing aquaculture may be more economic than actually going into the other forms of protein development plants like cattle ranching, etc., etc. I'm happy that we have an example of an investor in aquaculture here, and we have Mr. Pianin from Dagan Farms, Ghana, which is a joint partnership with an Israeli company. We also have Volta Breams Limited, which is a joint company with an Indian company. And then the Golden Fish Aquaculture Limited, which is a Chinese initiative. And these are some of the few companies that have actually gone into industrial aquaculture and are registered with the GIPC. Indeed, there are only about 6 aquaculture businesses registered with the center, with a total investment cost of about $7.4 million. And about $3.1 million of foreign direct investment. Now, considering how important we think this is, these numbers are woefully inadequate. And if you compare the investment of this to how much fish we are importing, it just makes no sense why we shouldn't divert the attention and the focus on fish farming, but rather import 400,000 metric tons of fish when we have all the water bodies and we have all that it takes to develop a vibrant aquaculture. I will jump out of some of these and go straight to slide 19. And I'll leave the slides over so those who want to see what else is in there. And slide 19, I'm talking about the initiatives that government is putting to creating an environment that will enable private sector to invest in strategic areas such as feed production and financing. And I must say, even having a ministry for fish is important enough. And that's why I was a bit disappointed that despite that, fish have been categorized as animals. So even the feed strategy for feeding fish in fish farms has taken a direction away from our agricultural policies. And as Mr. Pianim said, I think the problem is that there are just too many divergent parties in bringing together what would be a coherent strategy to feed into policy. And despite government's initiatives, we need to work hand in hand with those actually in the industry, especially the private sector, to understand how to facilitate this very important industry or part of agriculture. And I think that aquaculture should rightly go back into agriculture so it gets the needed attention. And I think decoupling fisheries from agriculture for the intention of giving it specific attention has rather defeated what might have been the intention. And that is why, I mean, we have incoherent policies, whereas mainstream agriculture gets a lot of attention, aquaculture may not be getting that much attention. And I will be corrected. I mean, we have an industry player here who can tell us whether that is the way to go or that is not the way to go. So for us at GIPC, what is our role in all this? Our role is to first of all highlight the industry as a major and attractive investment opportunity. And as I did say, majority of Ghanaians eat fish, even those in the hinterland. And it's easier, I think, as compared to cattle breeding, to grow the aquaculture industry than it is to actually go into ranching. At least it's strategically, we have the advantages there of a dynamic aquaculture industry, much more than we do have looking at other sources of protein. And so government needs to actually design or redesign the policy initiatives that will make that happen. And at GIPC, ours is to attract the needed investment to put into the sector, because financing is critical. Just not financing, there are many other things that are there that are important to ensuring that the value chain supports growth. But for us, financing is important, and so for us, any which way in which we can actually build it as an opportunity for investors is pretty important. And shall we go to slide 21, where I've highlighted some of the opportunities that exist, not only in fish farming or in building an aquaculture, but other ancillary parts of the industry, such as capacity building on standards, training and certification. I think that in itself is a major investment opportunity. Inspection and grading to make sure that we conform to international standards. Research and aquaculture development. Technological and consulting services. And I must, on the side, just make a note here. I was on a boat once, a fishing boat, and I was totally surprised at the technology they use in actually tracking, tracing the fish, and telling the trawlers where to go and how to go to get the fish. And it wasn't like, I mean, it's a far departure from us who still rely royally on our canoes and paddling and having the lights and looking into the sea. I realized that we have a long way to go. There's also opportunity for manufacturing of fishing equipment and facilities. And as I speak, I know that we once had a factory that was producing nets, and today, majority of a greater chunk of the nets that are used by our fishermen are imported. Even the barrels that we use and the fish tanks that we use in our inland fishing farms are imported. Then, of course, there's opportunity in manufacturing of hatchery facilities for fish production. And that gives me personally a very good idea that maybe it's an area that I should go into eventually when I retire. But when I look at Mr. P&M, I think there's no retirement age in this business, so maybe I should think about it. Then, of course, the establishment of cold storage facilities for aquacultures, and investing in reefers and other cold transportation equipment that can take products from the south to the north. Then, of course, provision of field and laboratory equipment for quality assurance of fish. I haven't seen a lot of that. Then we also have fabrication and manufacturing of simple replacement parts for aquaculture machinery. Establishment of factories for local production of vaccines and feed additives. And I think that is one of the critical parts of the industry, that a lot of the feed and a lot of the vaccines that we use are imported. Then, of course, there's opportunities in the provision of field and laboratory equipment to produce new fish breeds. And I'm happy that we're having this in the University of Ghana, because this is exactly where we expect that this should be happening. And I am pleased to say that the head of the Department of Fisheries was actually my classmate. Then, of course, there's opportunity for marketing of value-added processed aquaculture products in international markets such as the EU, Asia, and the ECOWAS market. And I know that Ghana, for a while, has been a major push area for tuna, processed tuna export to the EU. But of course, I mean, there are many issues with that. Quality standards, making sure that we have the equivalent of phytosanitary standards also guaranteed in the products that we send abroad, making sure that we have the right cans, the right packaging, etc., etc. All these are real opportunities for investors. And then, last but not the least, maybe the most important part is the financing. Providing financing, competitive financing, as we have in agriculture, to the fish farming sector or the aquaculture sector. So what are the incentives that will make it attractive for anybody to invest in it? A business in the aquaculture sector enjoys the following: 5 years tax holidays for the production of fish, duty exemptions on plant, machinery, and equipment. Of course, you also have, if you're partnering with a foreign direct investor, you have automatic immigrant quotas for work and resident permits. And the law also provides or permits fish farming losses to be carried forward for 5 years of assessments. And since we haven't seen Mr. P&M come to our office, I can assume that he's making good profits. Then, of course, we also have strategic investment incentives. Under our law, specific incentive packages may be negotiated for, in addition to the incentives and benefits already stated. And particularly when you invest more than $50 million, you get to a category we call the strategic investor, and you can actually negotiate further incentives into your business. We are also looking at the possibility of reforms such that we create what we call the responsible, sustainable investor. Now, this will be the investor who, first of all, will partner with a Ghanaian, and when you're in that status, you get some further incentives. So those who partner with Ghanaians, we expect that in future, we can actually create more incentives for them to try and help us upskill local and domestic participation in the industry. And then we also would give further incentives to any investor who enables us achieve our SDGs in an accelerated form. So those are some of the some of the incentives we are looking at. We also do have investment guarantees, and Ghana, as I did say, is noted for its political stability, but not only that, also its economic stability and robustness. Our performance during the COVID period is a testament to that. We already have in our constitution guarantees against expropriation of private investments provided under the GIPC law, and as I said in the constitution. We have free transferability or remittability of capital, profits and dividends, so far as you show that you brought your money in through the banking sector. We have insurance against non-commercial risks, and Ghana is a signatory to World Bank's MIGA, or Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency Convention. We have signed quite a number of double taxation agreements with quite a number of countries to rationalize tax obligations of investors in order to prevent double taxation. And DTAs have been signed and ratified with several countries in Europe, especially France, Germany, UK, Belgium, and many other parts of the world, as well as in Africa. So specific to the aquaculture industrial sector, I think that some of the investment opportunities that are glaring are establishment of fish farms, and we've seen quite a number of them on the Volta Lake using cage culture techniques, production of fish feed for local use and for export, distribution of chemical feeds and feed ingredients, establishment of large-scale processing facilities for the processing of fish, such as scanning and drying to increase export value, and the provision of post-production services, that is transportation, packaging, storage facilities, and cold vans, as I mentioned before. I think I will end here and go to slide 34. If you want to set up a business in the aquaculture, what do you need to do? First of all, of course, I mean, if you want to come to us, you identify the opportunity. And like I said, the opportunity is there. It's not like it's rocket science or a new creation. The opportunity is there. We have major water bodies, and although those water bodies are facing challenges under the scourge of bad environmental practices such as galamsey, etc., we still have rivers and water bodies that could serve as good substrates or foundations for an aquaculture. We expect that for those who want to go into it, would actually identify the opportunity, develop their business plan, acquire the necessary obligatory licenses and permits, and then come to us. What we will do is to provide access to investment or business opportunities in the sector. If we look at your plan and we think that there's a better opportunity somewhere, we will put your mind to it. We will also match investors to suitable agencies, professional bodies, industry leaders, and potential business partners relevant to the business. And I want to say here that GIPC serves as an in-betweener between the private sector and government. And so very often, when an investor has issues, we take it up. We have recently set up a very dynamic aftercare service that is actually preempting problems and visiting investments and projects and asking them what the problems are so that we solve it for them. I mean, if I begin to tell you some of the problems you're having to solve, some of them are huge, like an investor who suddenly found his power supply cut. And all the noise he made elsewhere didn't work, so they came to GIPC, and we got the relevant parties to see to it, and so it was resolved. We've had a number of them with water supplies also being cut. We resolved them. So we do aggressively pursue the relationship aspect of investments. And for us at GIPC, investing is not an act, it is a relationship. And so once you come through GIPC, we ensure that that relationship is watered and facilitated such that it becomes a sustainable business. Not just a business that exists, but a sustainable business. We also assist you with your investor registration process. We assist with automatic immigrant quotas, which is residency and work permits for expatriate workers. We also assist with granting import duty exemptions on plant and machinery, and facilitation of other statutory and local government permits and approvals. We also assist you with due diligence checks on companies upon request. And then, of course, we do give the aftercare service where we follow your business and help you, give you guidance, and where necessary, investment advisory services as well. And all I want to say is that we are here as a partner. We recognize aquaculture as a very important part of our economy. We recognize there's a lot of up room for it to grow, and we encourage those who are in it, and there are many of you here that I see as probably students who may have the opportunity of adding value to this industry in many ways, more than you can think. And so I say that your work is cut out for you, and we at GIPC will be a partner that will enable you to facilitate aquaculture become a very important part of our economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grant. Now we have a video from the American Soybean Association's World Initiative for Soybean and Human Health. Promotional video.
Do you see potential for economic progress that also improves human and animal nutrition in countries with some of the fastest growing populations in the world? Do you want to partner to find solutions for the protein gaps found in Africa, Asia, and Central America? If you can join us in capturing business opportunities in nutritious foods and feeds, then stay tuned. Visionary U.S. soybean growers founded the World Initiative for Soy in Human Health, or WISH, as a program of the American Soybean Association. We are committed to strengthening agricultural market systems in developing and emerging economies in order to improve food security and build long-term demand for U.S. soy. Our work supports businesses, governments, and non-governmental organizations from Guatemala to Uganda to Cambodia to introduce nutritious foods and feeds that grow their businesses and economies. At WISH, we focus on regions where U.S. soy markets don't exist yet, blazing new trails in new sectors around the world. For example, WISH has made significant impacts in Central America by partnering with companies that use U.S. soy to manufacture more nutritious foods and beverages. In Asia, WISH partners have expanded their businesses by putting U.S. soy in fish feed for the first time. And in sub-Saharan Africa, local entrepreneurs have partnered with WISH to grow businesses that sell delicious and nutritious soy-based local foods, as well as feeds for poultry, fish, and more. So what can a partnership with WISH do for you? Working on behalf of U.S. soybean farmers, our goal is to create global partnerships and provide new opportunities for businesses and entrepreneurs that expand the potential for trade. Our approach is designed to increase demand, fuel economic growth, and connect entrepreneurs. The best part is that we do this at no cost to you. So how does it work? Thanks to decades of accumulated knowledge, we tap into expert resources to educate, mentor, and network to help your business grow both in size and through the latest innovations. Thanks to our soy experts, who are deeply connected to the regions where we work, we offer you face-to-face education and technical expertise. Working in developing and emerging markets, we identify market sectors with real potential for growth, work with key stakeholders, and provide effective trade solutions. While serving as an incubator, we connect driven leaders with supply chain partners. We help you network for strategic partnerships and create opportunities to launch a new product or service. And our go-to market strategists offer a localized approach, the right resources, the right expertise, and the right systems for better nutrition and improved food security in your market. At Wish, our greatest strength is our ability to facilitate strategic partnerships throughout the world to promote the benefits of soy. Wish and the American Soybean Association have the vision and the voice to continue to build awareness, create partnerships, and drive change for a healthier world.
Thank you, Wish. Now we have a video message from the president of the World Aquaculture Society African chapter, speaking to us from Zambia. Pardon me, from Egypt.
Conference organizer, WASP members and partner in Ghana, West Africa and around the world, various aquaculture actors and audience, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to deliver my speech in this closing session of the first hybrid aquaculture conference for the West African region. Due to pressing schedule and also COVID-19 complications, I could not be with you on this event, but I trust you are in good hands with the WASP team there, which includes the Secretariat for the African chapter and Regional Director for the West Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, like every other organization, the WASP African chapter operations have been negatively impacted by COVID-19. However, we value such initiative of having virtual event as new normal and opportunities for us to reach out to wider audience on aquaculture. I understand many of you have been attending several free access webinar sessions convenes through our regional office in West Africa and through our partner Aquaculture Africa magazine. We hope to continue collaborating with our partner in the region in doing more regional and national activity, both physical and virtual, building upon momentum. We understand the West Africa region has Sub-Saharan Africa top aquaculture producer, Nigeria followed by Ghana, which is a key player on tilapia production in Africa. I also understand several other countries are making good strides in developing the sector. It is also a region that has many university and research institutions on fisheries and aquaculture. Many scientists and academics from this institution have over the years been the backbone of the WASP membership. Ladies and gentlemen, the WASP African chapter is for all of us. Our desire is to connect each and every one of you, with no one left behind in our endeavors to organize effective communication platform that deliver science, technology, education and information exchange, thus contributing to the progressive and sustainable development of aquaculture throughout the region and continent at large. I call upon all of you to join WASP and active in this endeavor. We view this hybrid e-conference as a precursor to upcoming the first annual international conference and exposition of the African chapter of the World Aquaculture Society. AFRIC 2021 is due to take place in December 2021 in Alexandria City, Egypt. We are all praying the COVID situation will not hinder us to have such a momentous event. We will updating you more in due course. The West Africa region is scheduled to have the Aquaculture Africa Conference in 2023, AFRIC 2023, hopefully here in Ghana. I understand the WASP focus person here in Ghana has begun preparation for this flagship event. Again, we will be updating you more in this due course. Let me end by recognizing and thanking my WAS Regional Director in West Africa, Mr. Lonro Badmus, for all good effort working together with the Chamber of Aquaculture in Ghana and other collaborators within the organizing committee in planning and executing this event. Let me also thank Aller Aqua, our chapter founding gold sponsor, whom I understand have operational and sales unit in Ghana and Nigeria and are looking forward to strengthen and expand their business to other countries. The West African chapter committees to work with you on this journey, aiming to create valuable platform for information exchange and networking for aquaculture actors. I also wish to thank various other sponsors for supporting the planning and delivery of the first hybrid event. Many thanks go to the technical session chair, moderators, presenter, and conference attendee at large. Special thanks go to the representative from the government of Ghana for taking part and supporting the event. Subject to COVID situation, I hope to physically meet many of you at the Africa 2021 conference in Egypt. Thank you all and wishing you a fruitful technical session in the coming days. God bless you all. Sharif Sadiq, President, WAS African Chapter, Egypt. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sadiq. We have a brief statement from Mr. Blessing Mafumo, the Executive Officer at WAS Secretariat.
Thank you very much, moderator and Mr. Chairman, distinguished guests, all protocol observed. I won't be long here. The president of the World Aquaculture Society African chapter has said it all. So I just wanted to say that the regional director for the World Aquaculture Society in West Africa, the office is based in Nigeria. They wanted to be with us for this momentous event, but unfortunately due to logistical challenges, he could not be with us. I think many of you know Mr. Lanre Batmas, who has been working very hard with the Chamber of Aquaculture in Ghana to organize this event, together with a regional as well as a national organizing committee. So I thought I should mention that to you. But also I wish to just quickly run through some of our plans for this year and also the coming years from the World Aquaculture Society in Africa. So first of all, as the President has alluded to, we have been negatively impacted by COVID-19. As you know, our mandate and our operations are very much based on organizing and delivering premium class World Aquaculture Society events and conferences, which some of you have attended, where aquaculture actors and the aquaculture community at large converge face to face or physically. But thanks to our readiness to switch to the new normal, here we have the first hybrid aquaculture conference in West Africa. I wish to congratulate the Chamber of Aquaculture and the regional office of the World Aquaculture Society for this. There are also short-term free access webinar sessions that we have started organizing ever since the COVID pandemic hit us. They are run through the West Africa Regional Office of WAS, as well as through our strategic partners such as the Aquaculture Africa magazine, which is based in South Africa. So you should join those and also be part of learning and networking and getting some good information on sustainable aquaculture development in Africa. We are also planning other regional or national events, training courses, seminars, workshops, with our partners in Ghana, as well as in West Africa, as well as some select countries in West Africa, which includes, I think in the short term, which includes Ivory Coast, hopefully Senegal, and Mali, and Mauritania in due course. Continentally, we are looking forward to having the first Aquaculture Africa conference in December 2021. That will be in Alexandria City in Egypt. We welcome you all to this big event where you can connect to the world of aquaculture. You know, universities, aquaculture researchers, suppliers, students, you name it, are all going to converge in Egypt this year for the Aquaculture Africa conference in December. We just hope that the COVID pandemic does not hinder us to have this momentous event. And then in 2022, we are looking forward to Zambia. Let's all go again to Zambia and see what's there, and also connect to aquaculture actors in Zambia and Southern Africa region. And by God's grace, Aquaculture Africa 2023, Ghana, that's where we plan to have it. We already have a focal person on the ground who is doing the groundwork for us. We will be updating you about it in due course. So I urge you all to join the World Aquaculture Society and be part of all this that we are doing, and also our structures, our networks, and our systems for us to continue this journey to develop the sustainable aquaculture we desire. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, let me end by thanking once more on behalf of the Regional Office of WAS in West Africa, the Ghana Chamber of Aquaculture, our founding gold sponsor, Ala Aqua, the African Union Development Agency, who are our host. Remember, the Secretariat Office of the World Aquaculture Society in Africa is based at the Africa Union Development Agency, and that shows the governments of Africa's commitment to establish and work with us to, develop platforms that are valuable and instrumental and vehicles for information exchange and networking on aquaculture. So we thank the African Union Development Agency very much for hosting the Secretariat of the African chapter of the WAS. Let me also thank our partners. I can see FAO is here. I can see private sector operators and universities who are here. Development partners who have joined hands with us, GIZ, thank you very much. You are our all-weather partner, the Norwegian Development Agency. We have got very much over so many years of learning from you. These are the pioneers of aquaculture in the world. I think you have heard that their aquaculture is valued at about $8.5 billion per year. That's great. So we have got so much to learn from our partners like the Norwegian Development Agency, the FAO, the GIZ, and many others whom I cannot mention in this stage. And also, most importantly, the government of Ghana for opening up to work with us. Thank you very much for that. Let me thank, lastly, the WAS membership in West Africa. I salute you all for continuing to register and renewing your membership and continuing to participate and be involved in such kind of platforms. It's all about the membership. You are the one who requested and advocated for the African chapter you want. So this is it. This is your product. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your patience and attention. We're almost at the end of our program. Before we have a brief closing remarks from Professor Nunu, who is the host, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Wish, GIZ, Ranan Feed, NORAD, PumpTech, and GIPC. We are very grateful for your contribution to the success of this program. I'd invite Prof. Nunu to give us a brief closing.
Wow. It's been an interesting session this morning. I want to thank all the speakers on the high table on the podium here. It's been wonderful. They've educated us. I just have a few comments for us all to take home. We want to inform us that the Fisheries Commission and the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development was invited. They are busy this week. All the top people are away somewhere in the Volta region doing some serious work. So we've not been able to have a formal presentation from them. The information provided by GIZ and the Norwegian sector, Norwegian embassy, about the aquaculture sector and their policies is very interesting. We in Ghana and West Africa, we are happy about all the policies and all the plans they have. We would like to encourage them to expand their activities to interface directly with industry and to interface directly with academia. We know it's government to government, but if they can reach out to industry and reach out to academia directly, that will help a lot. I've noted Mr. Pianin's presentation. He just hit the nail on the head as to the issues facing the industry. I remember way back in 2018, Jack came to my office. Jack, give us a wave. Yes. Jack came to my office and reiterated all these comments about the problems they're having in the industry. As then I was the Chief Director of the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development. We wrote a letter to the Ministry of Finance to address these issues. And we followed it up with another letter, even in 2019. That one was signed by the minister. The first one was signed by myself. But we still haven't had any progress. They said they're working on it. They're trying to collate all these exemptions and take it to Parliament before it is done. The exemption available was for plant, machinery, and equipment, but nothing for feed. And we need to continue, and I would like to invite the GIPC to join in this fight to get the exemptions for the industry. GIPC can help us a lot in that direction to get these exemptions done. But we want to encourage industry to use local products, to patronize. There's lots of maize in Ghana, to patronize local maize and others in your production, so that at least we'll be able to satisfy the national demand, national use of this equipment, this feed. The last one is the training of operational staff that was requested by the industry. It's one of the main reasons we're setting up the Anomabu Fisheries College to train operators and other middle-scale personnel for the industry. And let's work together to move this Anomabu Fisheries College forward. There was some data presented about the contribution of aquaculture sector in Ghana. I think we need to approach FC and MOFAD for more current information. And then on this note, we want to thank everyone here this morning and everyone online for your presence and your contributions. And we pray that we have a very successful conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Nunu. Please don't go yet. We are taking a group picture. Please don't go yet. Okay, so we're going to have a group picture with the dignitaries up here. And then please, the media here, if you have any questions for our speakers, please do it in here before the exit. Thank you. So first we'll start with just the speakers. The next group will be Department of Marine and Fisheries Science and Chamber of Aquaculture. Please, with the speakers. Please, can we have all from GIZ? GIZ and the Norwegian Embassy. Please, just a few more. GIZ and the Norwegian Embassy. Thank you very much. Please, if you have any questions for them, now is a good time to. We'll continue online from 12 noon with a fish health session. So please join us online.
No, I was telling him about Momo game. Was the announcement waiting? No, they didn't make it. Okay, who's talking? I think Collins told me about it. So, all right. That the online presence
Hello. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be launching Fish Expo West Africa at the foyer in a few minutes, and we will be very grateful if you will join us there. Thank you very much.
Enoch, are you on this line? Enoch, are you on this line?
Okay. All right. So we should be watching. Francis. He's doing here. Ladies and gentlemen, we are grateful to you for being with us for this brief but important ceremony. We are here to pre-launch Fish Expo West Africa, an exhibition of aquaculture products which comes off in Accra from the 28th to the 30th of October 2021. Fish Expo West Africa is being organized by a platform of enterprises across the aquaculture value chain under the name Fish Expo West Africa. We specifically chose this name to emphasize our commitment to the sub-regional development of aquaculture. We are committed to promoting the patronage of aquaculture products in the sub-region. In the last few years, more fish farms have been established, and existing fish farms are increasing their output. We are trying to encourage West African citizens to patronize aquaculture products, especially tilapia, catfish, and shrimps, because in addition to being tasty, they are nutritious and promote a healthy lifestyle. Aquaculture products, especially tilapia and catfish, have been part of the Ghanaian and African menu for many years. And recently, several interesting products have been introduced. These days, we have tilapia and catfish sausages and kebabs, pizzas, burgers, pies, samosas, in addition to our traditional tilapia and banku. We brought some samples for you to see, and I encourage all of you to patronize them and see how they feel. Aquaculture is very important to the Ghanaian and West African economy. At a time when we spend a considerable amount of foreign exchange importing fish, our fish farmers are producing fish locally in an effort to reduce the dependence on imports. Aquaculture is a great provider of protein content of our food. Aquaculture is also a viable investment area.
It is one area where you are assured of decent returns on your investment, and I'm specifically encouraging young Ghanaians and West Africans to consider entering aquaculture. Fish Expo West Africa will be a 3-day annual event. All enterprises in the aquaculture value chain will be present to show their products. Restaurants, hotels, chop bars, and other catering establishments will be there to present tasty tilapia, catfish, and shrimp products. There will also be training sessions where people seeking to enter aquaculture will be able to obtain all the necessary information and knowledge. Our colleagues across West Africa will be in Accra for the maiden event in October this year, and this will enable us to discuss ways of collaborating to enhance our common interests. Foreign enterprises and investors are also expected to be in the exhibition. In the coming weeks, we'll bring you more information, so please be on the lookout. We are always available to discuss the expo with any organization or individual who would like to participate or discuss any form of collaboration. Please call or WhatsApp us. We'll circulate the number to you shortly. I hereby declare Fish Expo West Africa pre-launched, pending the official launch in October, when the maiden exhibition is going to take place. See you there in October 28th to 30th, 2021, and thank you very much for participating in this pre-launch. Thank you.